Begin Podfix Network transmission. In 3, 2, 1.
Whether you're fly fishing in a stream, getting those ankles wet, or deep in the ocean casting nets, fish nerds. Fish nerds. Fish nerds. It's a podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Fish Nerds, a show about fish, fishing, and eating fish. Clay Grubbs with you again. Happy National Podcast Posting Month. Boy, 24 days in and we are still cooking. 6 more to go. So still time to get your voice on the show. Not a lot of time, some time. And we heard from listener today, Kevin Jones. Kevin Jones sent us in some tips on how to fish with popping corks, which I have never heard of. So this is new for me too. Kevin Jones, take it away.
Hey fish nerds, this is Kevin in Ohio, and my fishing tip today is about popping corks. If you've never used one of these, they're a big oblong bobber with an eyelet on either end, so they're tied inline. One end of the bobber has sort of a concave face to it, and that's where you tie on your main line, and then the other end is usually tapered, and that's where you tie on your leader. They can be made of either styrofoam or plastic, and they're usually weighted, and they're really popular on saltwater, where guys will usually use them with either squid, cut bait, or some kind of natural bait. But where I live up here on Lake Erie, I've found another use for them, which is to tie a fly on the end of the leader instead of a natural bait. Up here, this is a really popular presentation for white bass in the summertime when they're schooling up out on Lake Erie and chasing after bait fish. But I've found this to be a really versatile combination, and it's sort of become my go-to search bait for when I'm fishing a new body of water and I don't quite know what I'm dealing with. The reasons that I love this presentation so much are, one, that cork has a nice weight to it, so you can cast it a pretty good distance and cover a lot of water quickly with it. And also you can really vary up your presentation just by using a more or less aggressive retrieve. You can pop the cork pretty frequently, create a lot of splashing and noise and vibration, or you can just let it sit and just twitch it occasionally. And the cork, because of that concave face, has a kind of splashing action when you twitch it, just like a popping style bass lure. So this setup works great for white bass, but in terms of the number of different species that I've caught with it, it's actually been the most versatile lure combination that I have. In freshwater, I've used it to catch largemouth, all kinds of different panfish, Mayan cichlids when I lived down in Florida. And then in saltwater, I've also caught pinfish and speckled trout with it. And I think one of the reasons it's so versatile is because it gives you a really nice combination of, you have a lot of splashing and vibration to draw fish in from a distance from the cork itself. And then when they get up close, they see that smaller, more natural and subtle presentation from the fly. So it can draw fish in from a distance, but it can also sometimes entice a strike from more spooky or finicky fish. So if you haven't used or heard of this type of rig before, I'd definitely say to go out and give it a try. I like to look for the plastic popping corks instead of the styrofoam ones. I think they're a little bit more durable and they last a bit longer. In terms of flies, I don't really know much about fly fishing. And I don't think it really matters too much what kind of fly you use. I like to look for anything that imitates like a small bait fish, or small like popping bug type of flies seem to work really well too. It kind of depends on, what you are trying to imitate. And obviously any kind of floating or dry fly will make the whole setup a little bit more weedless, like if you're fishing around submerged vegetation. So that's my fishing tip for the day. Thanks, y'all, and happy National Podcast Month.
That's it. That ends this episode. Really appreciate you listening, Kevin. It's always fun I always prefer to hear from listeners than anybody else. So thank you so much for doing that. And that's it, Fish Nerds. Out.
Whether you're fly fishing in a stream, getting those ankles wet, or deep in the ocean casting nets, fish nerds. Fish nerds. Fish nerds. It's a podcast.
Just for the halibut!
Fried in a basket or broiled in a pan. Eat it raw like you're in Siam. Fish nerds. Fish nerds. Fish nerds. It's a podcast.